Hi, my name is Pablo Roman Humanes, and today I'll be talking about how to make your own comprehensible input videos. So you can give them as homework to your students, you can share them with other teachers, or you can share them with the world. So even people who don't have access to schools or to education, they can learn the language that you teach. But before I start, I'd like to give thanks to Scott Benedict for organizing the Comprehensible Online conference where this talk is being published, and for giving us this chance to share our ideas with the world. So with this talk, I want to encourage you to start making your own videos because, of course, your students can benefit from them. They can use it as review material. They can use it to get more input related to experiences they themselves have had in class. Also, of course, because every video you make can be used by teachers from all over the world, but not only can other teachers all over the world use it, but you'll also be sharing your own ideas, your own perspective on how to do this comprehensible input thing. And that can help other teachers get new ideas, which in turn they can use to improve their own art. And you in turn can learn from what they're doing because everybody will have their own contribution, their own little thing that they'll add to improve how we all do this. The videos that we will be making are gonna look very similar to this. There will be one or two people standing in front of the camera, and you'll be talking to the camera, maybe using a whiteboard if you need to draw or if you need to write words. You can also use props if you want to show props, if you want to show things related to the culture of the language you're teaching. The way I've structured this talk is as a to-do list. We'll be going through a series of steps, series of things that you have to prepare one by one, and if you do all of them, if you do each step, by the end, you'll have a video. You'll have uploaded it somewhere and share it with everybody you want to share it with. You'll decide the kind of video that you want to record. We'll go through the list of things that you need to get to do that. And at the end, I'll even explain how to add your own subtitles to your videos. And also, because I want to make this really accessible for everyone, we'll try to use as much as possible things that are already available to you. So to record, we'll be using your smartphone. And we're going to need a couple more things that you'll maybe need to buy if you don't have them already, but those should be quite cheap too. So it should stay within a $40 budget or so. And also, to keep things really simple, I'll show you how to edit and publish the video directly from your phone. We won't even need to use a computer. It should all be possible just from within your phone. So let's begin. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to decide what the level of difficulty is going to be for your videos. Who's the target of your videos? What level are they? Are they beginners? Are they intermediate students? Lower levels will require you to make a bigger effort to make it comprehensible. So you'll need to provide a lot more context, maybe use props, use drawing, for example. So that's going to affect the style of your videos. It's going to affect where you can record them, what kind of props you need to record them. So things that affect the style of your video, things like how many people are going to be in the video. Is it going to be you by yourself, or are there going to be two people in the video? Are you going to need a whiteboard? For example, one way of doing it is holding a whiteboard on your hand, but you can also have a whiteboard behind you and draw on it. And all these things are going to affect where you can record. If you need a big whiteboard, for example, you're going to be limited to recording in class, maybe. Like in this video, the kind of videos that we're going to record are going to be from a single camera position. We will not be moving the camera around or recording from different angles or recording different things. That's something that's of course cool and you can try doing it in the future, but it requires a bit more advanced video editing skills. So for now, to keep it really simple, we'll just leave the camera in one single position and record our whole video without really moving the camera around at all. So I'll be explaining how to record upper body videos with or without whiteboard, and you can decide whether you want to use other handheld props, everyday objects, printed sheets, or whatever you think you will need for your video. So those were step 1 and 2. Step 1, choose the level of difficulty of your video, and step 2, choose the style of your video. As the next step, I recommend choosing the recording location. The location is really quite important for a number of factors. The most important one is how many options we'll have for lighting it. Lighting, getting enough light on yourself, is the most important factor to getting good looking video. So this is one of the most important things when recording a video, and depending on our location, we'll be more or less limited in the amount of options we have for lighting ourselves. One of the best ways of getting smooth, beautiful lighting is using natural light. So that can mean either standing in front of a window or even outdoors like I'm doing right now. However, if you want to use a whiteboard, to stand in front of a window, you're gonna need some kind of handheld or portable whiteboard that you can move around. So this can also limit your possibilities. If you want to use a big wall-mounted whiteboard, then you're gonna be more limited in the kinds of lighting that you can get. Then probably you're not gonna be so lucky as to be in front of a big bright window. So in that case, you'll need to get some kind of artificial lighting, and I'll explain later what kind of options you have and how to get good lighting indoors. A more secondary thing that you may want to consider when choosing where you're going to record is the audio quality. Different locations, different kinds of rooms can affect the way sound is recorded. Different kinds of rooms can add a lot of reverb to your sound, and that can make it sound bad and even make it a bit hard to understand what you're saying. Luckily, because of the kind of microphone that we'll be using, the kind of room shouldn't really affect us that much, so we should still be able to get pretty decent sound no matter the place. But because these are language learning videos, we should strive to get good quality audio. So I'll explain what's important in a location to make it sound good. If you're recording outdoors like I'm doing here, which probably won't be the case for many people, the only thing you really need to worry about is for the environment to not be too noisy. As long as there's not a lot of noise, your microphone will pick up your voice above everything else, and it won't be a problem. But if you record indoors, then you can have problems with reverb. Reverb means that when you speak, the sound goes and is reflected by the walls and comes back. So you can hear this kind of bathroom feeling to the sound. And the way to avoid that is first, choose a big room if you can. The bigger the room, the less this will be a problem. The second thing is choosing a room that's not square. This is something that is usually recommended, but I don't know, I haven't seen that many rooms in my life that are not squared, but maybe you're lucky and you have one. The third thing is to choose a room with a lot of furniture. Furniture helps absorb the sound, and so do curtains and carpet, so it's better if it's a room with carpet. If you have curtains, you can close the curtains, or you can cover some of the walls with curtains. That will also help make the sound clearer and make it easier to understand, because you will not get as much reverb in it. Later, I'm going to talk about how we will be recording the sound. But for now, this was step 3, choosing the location. So the next thing is lighting. As I mentioned before, lighting is the most important thing to get good video quality, to get good image. And if we don't have enough light, then the video is going to look grainy and just plain bad. So just make sure that wherever you've decided to record your videos, there is plenty of light. If all the light is coming from one single spot, the lighting won't be very smooth. Also, if all the light is coming from above, for example, if you have one single row of fluorescent lights in the ceiling, then also it's not going to look very good. You'll get many shadows. So always when you're recording indoors, just try to get a few lamps close to you and pointing in your direction from different positions, and play a bit with them until you get good, smooth lighting. For example, this is what it looks like with only the ceiling light on in my room. You can see that there's shadows and that in general it doesn't look very nice. And this is what it looks like when my face is properly lit. You can see that there's a big difference. You also have to be careful with the kind of lights that you use. I've had problems before, for example, with fluorescent lights. Some of them produce like a very strong flicker, which is really not pleasant to see. And I've also had problems with cheap LED lights, which for some reason also show some blinking when you're recording. It doesn't really show when you look at them directly, but when you record with a camera or with your phone, when you look at the video, you may see some strange flickering, and it happens sometimes. So in those cases, my recommendation is just try a different kind of lighting. In my case, better, more expensive LED light bulbs helped and work much better. Just make sure that when your lighting setup is ready, you record a test video to make sure that there's no flickering and that everything looks good. Later, if you start making more videos and you start taking them more seriously, you can invest in some nice studio video lights. I found a set of 2 for around $60 US, which is not too expensive, but definitely it's not an investment that you need to do right at the beginning. As I mentioned before, windows are usually ideal because they provide really bright light and light that's very smooth, so it looks very good. Right now I'm using the window in my room as the source of light. So to use your window as the source of light, just make sure that the camera is in between you and the window, and then you're facing to the window so the window is in front of you. And you can see what it looks like and how it's quite different from what you saw before. As you can see, it provides really smooth lighting, really bright light, and it looks good. And that's it for step 4. Step 4, prepare the lighting. As I mentioned before, I want to make making videos really accessible for everybody because I think there's a need to having a lot of content online. So instead of making you buy really expensive equipment like an expensive camera, we're just going to be using our smartphones. Phones don't have a very good reputation for image and video quality, but actually smartphones, they've come a long way these last few years and video quality has improved a lot. There's for sure a few things in which they're not as good as cameras, especially for example in low light conditions. But if you have good lighting and you have a phone that's been released within the last few years, you really have a hard time telling the difference between the quality of your phone and a proper video or photo camera. So I know I'm insisting a lot and I'm repeating this many times, but make sure that you're properly lit, that you have good lighting, and then even video from your phone is gonna look really good. There are a few reasons why you may want to upgrade in the future to an actual camera, but video quality is probably not gonna be one of the main reasons. You're going to need a tripod to keep your smartphone in place, but because of how light phones are, you can basically use any tripod. Even the cheapest ones will work. If you have a camera tripod, you can use that one. And if you don't, then you can find some online for really cheap, for like $10 US. This one, I got it for really cheap. It's mostly plastic, so you can see that's quite cheap. But the one that you get doesn't even need to be like this one. There are some that are much smaller, that you can extend them, and much thinner also, and lighter. They're cheap, they're not very heavy, they're not very stable, so they're not recommended to be used with heavy cameras. But because we'll be using our smartphone, you should not have any problem even with the cheapest tripods you can find. Just make sure that your tripod is tall enough for the position where you'll be putting your smartphone. Another thing that you're going to need is an adapter like this. This allows you to put your smartphone on any tripod. You can find this online for very cheap, for probably cheaper than $5 US. This attaches to your tripod the same way a camera does. It has the same thread, so you screw it the same way you would with a camera. Done. Then you put it on your tripod like this, and then you put your smartphone in it like this. Just make sure that you don't trap the buttons, that it's not pressing on the buttons. Actually, you may even find some tripods that already come with the phone adapter included. So that's one option. This is also a good time to plan the position where your phone is going to be. Now we're gonna place the phone where it would be recording from, and we'll also choose where we're going to be sitting. So we'll make sure that we place our phone facing us like this. We'll make sure that it's far enough from us so that we fill in the picture completely. And we'll make sure that we set the phone at an appropriate height. So now you need to make sure that you're correctly framing the picture. The problem is when you're looking at your smartphone, you cannot see the image. And when you look at the screen, you cannot see yourself. The easiest thing to do, of course, is to get the help of a friend. Ask that person to make sure that you can see your whole upper body, that your head is not cut off. If you don't fit in the image, you may have to move your phone a bit more backwards. Just make sure that you don't point the phone down or up. If you're not at the appropriate height, you should change the height. You should change the height of the phone like this. Don't point it up or down, because then you end up with a bit of an awkward point of view. If, like me, you don't have any friends, then you'll have to do something else, which is recording a video. You can record a short video and then go sit down or stand in the position where you're going to record the video, and you can go back. You can take a look at what the video you just recorded looks like, and then you can see if you're well framed or not. Once you're happy with your framing, one trick that you can use is to put some tape on the floor, exactly in the position where the legs are. So next time you record a video, you have a mark there exactly where you have to put your tripod. You can even do that for your chair. If you're sitting down where you record videos, you put a little bit of tape on the floor, right where each of the legs are, and next time you can go and put back the chair in exactly the same position. Another thing that you have to be careful with is the camera application that you use on your phone. Some applications have a recording limit for how long they will record. So in my case, I found this the hard way. I was trying to record myself, and then I went back, I looked at the video, and I realized that it had recorded exactly 10 minutes. So that's when I realized that the limit for my default camera application on my phone had a time limit set to 10 minutes. So I had to download a different application that didn't have this time limit. Video quality is probably not going to be different between different applications, but there can be differences in the way they handle sound, for example. In my case, the default camera application in my phone, it just wouldn't work with an external microphone. It wouldn't recognize it. So I had to find another more specialized video application that would actually let me choose where I would record the audio from. So try recording a video with your phone. You can just leave your phone sitting and recording and wait for it to reach 10, 15, 20, as many minutes as you think it's going to take for you to record the video, just to make sure that your phone will actually record that much time. And also record a sample video to make sure that the external microphone is working. In the next step, I'll show you how to plug an external microphone to get a better audio quality. In my case, I have an Android phone, and I've settled for an application called Cinema FV5. So I recommend this one if you have an Android phone. I don't have an iPhone to try with, but I've done some research, and it seems like the default camera application should work okay. It should be able to record very long videos, and it should work with an external microphone also without problems and without having to really set it up or anything. So that's it for step 5. Prepare your phone and your tripod. The next step is to prepare the sound recording. So to record the audio, we're going to be using this type of microphone. It's called a lavalier microphone. Looks like this. And there's a clip on it. We can use it to clip it to our shirts, like this. And on the other end, we've got a regular mini jack. So this will go into the mini jack port of our smartphone, like this. And you actually need this. You only really need to spend money on 2 things. One's the tripod, if you don't have one, and the other one is the microphone. But it is really necessary to have an external microphone, because you don't really want the sound to sound bad in a language learning video. I've used several kinds of microphones, and I would say I've used all the different kinds of microphones that can be used in this situation. And I've just stuck to this because it's the one that provides the clearest audio. It's the one that's influenced the least by the characteristics of your room. So even if you're in a room that has a lot of echo, that sounds like a toilet, this one will still sound kind of okay, while the others are much more picky about the place where you record. Other microphones, because they're not close to your mouth, they get more reverb from the room, and they just don't sound as well as this one. The microphone, it doesn't need to be an expensive one, because even cheap microphones can record quite clear audio. So really, to begin, you don't really need to spend more than $20 on it. What you need to make sure though is that it's a microphone that's prepared to work with your smartphone, because typical microphones, they were made to be plugged on cameras and voice recorders and stuff like that. But recently you can find many that are designed specifically for smartphones. So just make sure that whatever you buy is advertised as for smartphones. You also need to make sure that whatever microphone you buy has a long enough wire to go from the place where you set up your phone to the place where you'll be sitting. So this microphone that I got for quite cheap is the Boya BY-M1, and it has a 20-foot wire, which should be more than enough. One thing to consider though with this kind of microphones is that it's very easy for them to get interference in their cable. So if there's some kind of electronic device or another wire, electric wire, going nearby the cable, then you'll find out that sometimes in the end result, in the audio, there's some weird noises. So what I recommend to avoid that is to set up your phone and sit down in the same position as when you're going to be recording the video. Use the microphone to record with your phone, record your voice, speaking for a while, and then stop it, go back, check the result, listen to it with headphones so you can hear well if there's any kind of noise, and that way you can make sure that there's nothing really interfering with the cable of the microphone. If you listen to it and there's noise, then first you need to make sure that the cable of the microphone is not going nearby any other cables or any other electronic devices. If that doesn't fix it, try not to have any electronics on you or have any electronics near the phone that you're using to record. Sometimes you may even get noise if you're charging your phone at the same time as you're recording. If you have a charger plugged to your phone to make sure that it doesn't run out of battery, then disconnect the cable. Make sure that your phone is properly charged, but try not to charge it at the same time as you're recording, and that may prevent some noises. So if that doesn't work, as it happened in my case, try going to your phone, disabling Bluetooth, disabling Wi-Fi, and turning on airplane mode. In my case, I had to disable the NFC function in my phone, the touchless function that allows you to pay with your phone and stuff like that. I had to disable it because it was causing noise when recording. So try enabling and disabling different functions on your phone so you can find whose fault it is, and then you can disable only that one to make sure that you don't get noise when recording. So that's it for the microphone. The second important thing when recording the audio is the place, the room where you're at. Because we're using this kind of microphone, the room is not going to be that important, but it's still going to have some effect on the quality of the sound that you get. So if you feel that you get a lot of reverb in your audio, you can try doing it in a different room. And that's it for step 6, preparing the audio recording. So once you've thought about everything we've talked about and you have prepared all your recording material, the next step is to think what the video is going to be about. What are you going to talk about in your video? The amount of topics you can talk about is, of course, never ending. You can retell a student-made story, you can tell a legend, you can explain something that happened to you, you can explain a movie you watched, you can talk about the culture of the country where the language is spoken. You can even play different kinds of guessing games. Then, once I've chosen the topic, what I like to do is make a list of all the things that I want to make sure to talk about in the video. I just write a general outline. I don't write it in a lot of detail. I don't write a script with all the words that I'm going to say. But I know that some people do that, and it's up to you whether you want to have a general outline or you want to have an actual script. In my case, I'm not very good at reading off a script. When I've tried to do that, it comes off as really unnatural, really artificial sounding, really forced. So in my case, I prefer to have a general outline of the things that I'm going to say, but then improvise the actual words when I'm recording. I've also met some people who say they're really bad at improvising, and they work much better if they have actually written a script before. So if you prefer to do that, then that's also okay. Now it's also a good time to decide whether you're going to record the whole video without stopping in just one take, or whether you're going to allow yourself to make mistakes, to stop during the video and then continue later. Recording it just in one go is going to be easier later for editing, you won't have to spend any time at all editing the video. But by allowing yourself to stop, allowing yourself time to make mistakes, to erase the whiteboard, to wherever you may need to do, you won't be putting so much pressure on yourself. You don't have to memorize the whole outline or the whole script of what you're going to say. But later you'll have a harder time when editing. I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to edit the video also and remove the parts that you don't want from it. But it's going to be more work and it's going to be a bit harder to do than if you just start, say the whole thing, and finish. If you try to do that and you make a mistake, you can always stop and start again from the beginning. Many people do that, and that's also okay. It probably works better for shorter videos. So for example, I can imagine myself recording a 5-6 minute video, which I've memorized completely from start to end. But it's harder for me to imagine recording a 10 or 15 minute video in which I completely memorize everything. And if I make a mistake like 10 minutes in, I'll have to start again. So that's also up to you. So that was step 7, preparing the content of the video. For the next step, we're gonna make sure that we have all the props that we need to record the video. So if you're going to use a whiteboard, make sure you have your whiteboard. Make sure you have your markers. Not all the markers are the same. I've tried quite a few ones, and I settled for this specific model, because they write thick, dark lines, which are really easy to see, which is quite important in videos. Sometimes when you draw on a whiteboard and you film it, it's not as easy to see as in person. So it's important to have a marker that's really easy to see. Make sure that you have prepared any objects that you want to show in your videos, either if it's daily life objects or objects from the country where the language is spoken. And if you need printouts or pictures, make sure you have them on hand also. In my case, I also have these laminated sheets that I like to use. They're really convenient to convey meaning that is not easy to convey by gestures or by drawing. For example, here I've got the colors, I've got the times of the day, the days of the week, and the 4 seasons. And also for things that are a lot of work to draw many times, like vegetables and fruits. I've got my sheets here. Oh, and I also have a bunch of maps, since when we talk about language, often we like to talk about other countries. This is really convenient. You can go to a print shop and have this printed and laminated for you. I also love to use physical props. If you have some food or some object from the country where the language is spoken, why not showing it to your students? It can be a lot of fun. You can even try eating some of the food and showing your reaction. You can show clothes from the country or musical instruments or whatever. So that's it for step 8, prepare the props. Great, we're almost ready to record. So we're just gonna go over everything one last time to make sure that everything is in place. So we're going to make sure that our phone is set up on the tripod. We're going to attach the microphone here, and we're going to make sure that we are wearing the microphone. Then we're going to look at the screen. We're going to make sure that we are in frame. Here, as I mentioned before, we can ask a friend of us or just record once and go sit down, come back, look at the video and make sure that we're in frame. Then we're going to make sure that the lights are on. Lights are on. Oh, and yes, we can set the phone to silent mode, so if somebody calls us, it won't disturb the video with sound or vibration. So we'll do that. Now, what we're going to do before recording the actual video is record a short test video. So we'll make sure that everything's right, that the framing is right, that the sound is working correctly. We'll do that, record one short video, and then come back here and take a look at it and make sure that everything's right. So I'll start recording. I'll sit down. So as you can see, the phone is recording me, and here you can say something just so it's recorded and you can listen to it later. If you're planning on using a whiteboard, do that. Draw something on the whiteboard to make sure that it's gonna look okay in the video. And yes, that's it. You can just go back. We go back, we make sure that it worked. So we stop the video. We unplug the microphone. We plug in headphones like this, and we'll try listening to it. Yeah, no problem. So now you stop it, stop. You need to remember to plug again the microphone. We plug the microphone in again, and yes, without touching anything, you can just hit record and go and record your video. So this is what the actual recorded video will look like. I'm using my smartphone now, and I'm using the microphone that I showed you before. So if you follow all the steps that I recommended, you should end up with something similar to this. Here I can use the whiteboard to draw something, to draw a little stick figure and to say hi, and it should be quite clear. Maybe you'll get some reflections depending how I orient it, so make sure that that doesn't happen to you. For the actual speaking, just make sure that you're not speaking too fast, because if you get nervous, then it's very easy to start speaking really, really fast. But if you catch yourself doing that, then no problem. Just stop and record it again. You can record it as many times as you need to make sure that it's as good as you want it to be. When I record videos, I don't usually get nervous, because for me, being alone in front of a camera, I don't really get as nervous as being in front of a big crowd, for example. But if you end up getting nervous, one trick that you can use is imagining that instead of having your camera in front of you, you have your favorite student, and then you're explaining something to that person. I sometimes actually use this trick to make sure that when I talk, everything that I say comes out naturally, and that I speak at a level that's appropriate for the audience. So, for example, if I'm targeting like really beginners, then I'll imagine a friend of mine who just started learning Spanish, and that I'm explaining something to that person. And that's it, we're done. You can record the video as many times as you think is necessary. And once you're done, you come back here, you make sure that the video got recorded correctly. Again, you listen to it with headphones, and especially you should make sure that it got recorded until the very end. So go to the very end and make sure that everything got recorded, because it's very easy to just run out of memory on your phone and not notice it. Especially if you're recording a long video or many videos, eventually you'll run out of memory, right? So make sure of that. Make sure that you record it until the very end and you're done recording. So yes, that was it for step 9, record the video. In the next step, we'll see how to edit the video. Now it's time to edit the video. Remember that I asked you to decide whether you were going to record the whole video in one go, or whether you wouldn't mind so much if you made mistakes, because then you could cut them out. So now I'll show you how to edit the video in both cases. So we'll grab our phones where we recorded the video, and I'll show you what to do in each case. In the case you don't need to remove parts in the video, it may be as easy as just removing the beginning and the end of the video. Many Android phones come by default with the Google Photos app, so you open Photos, and here you'll have, this is the last video we recorded, and here we press Settings, and it allows us to remove the part that we want. So we just stay here, and I'll just move here until I start talking, around here, and the same with the end. I'll cut until the point where I stand up and leave. So maybe around here, and then press save. So by doing this, we'll get a video without the parts in which we walk to and from our position. So here is our result. And you can see that I've deleted the beginning and the end also. And if we recorded the whole video without any cuts in between, then this is ready to publish. I don't have an iPhone to show you, but I researched it a bit, and you can actually go here and choose edit here, and you can basically do the same and remove the beginning and the end of the video. If you want to do more advanced things, like remove parts inside the video or adding static images or other videos, you're going to need some other more advanced application. For iPhone, for example, you have iMovie, which is capable of doing all that. And the benefit of using this kind of apps is that you can actually join several videos together into one video. So if, for example, you want to make a video in which you talk for a while and then you show a close-up of some stinky French cheese or something, then you can do that too. On Android, there's also some advanced video editors. For example, KineMaster, which has a lot of functionality, but on the free version, it puts a little watermark on the video. And there is Adobe Premiere Clip, which is free. So for example, with KineMaster, we would go here and create an empty project. And we'll choose media. In media here, we have the videos that we recorded. So this is the original one. I'll choose this one, accept. And here, we have the whole video here. As we did before, we can remove the beginning and the end. For example, here, by tapping on it, we can move the edge like this and move it to the point where we start speaking. And we can do the same with the end. Tap on it and then move it until when we stop speaking. And for example, let's say that here we made a mistake, or we were checking our script or something, and we want to remove this part. So we'll go to the place where we want to make a cut, press the scissors icon here, and then split at playhead. So here we can see that we have two videos instead of one now, 1 and 2. And here we can go to the part when we go back and start talking again. And here we can press trim to left of playhead. And we just removed the part that we didn't want. And that's it. You can repeat this as many times as you need to finish the whole video. So for example, here we could also cut a part here, clicking on it, scissors, split at playhead, and then going to the end and trim to left of playhead. So let's say that here we want to add an image, so we go to media, and here I have pictures. For example, in download, I have a nice picture here. So let's say that I'm talking about this, whatever this is. So we'll have a video here in which I talk about that, and then it will switch to the picture. And once we're done talking about the picture, then it will go back to whatever we were saying. And once we're happy with our video, we can press the share button here. And for now, we could share it directly with YouTube from here or with Facebook, but for now we'll save the video to the gallery. So we'll have it available if we want to share it in several places, for example. And since we haven't paid for it, we'll say no thanks, save with watermark. And here it gives us different options of different resolutions. We'll choose Full HD, FHD. Nowadays, most phones can do this much resolution, but there's no really much point in going higher than that. And it will take a while, but it will export the video, and yeah, we'll be done. The only thing remaining for us is to share it. So this was step 10, editing the video. So if you did all the steps that I mentioned before, now you have a video that's finished, it's ready to share, and I'll show you how to share it. I'll show you how to upload it to YouTube, how to make sure that everybody you want to show it to can see it. If instead of YouTube you want to use some other service, you can use that. Of course, if whatever you use doesn't have a mobile app, you'll have to send the file to your computer. So the file usually it will be too big to send by email, but you can copy it to your computer using a USB cable or putting it somewhere like Dropbox, for example. The video files can get pretty big. It can easily take more than 1 GB, so just make sure that you use Wi-Fi. So let's say that you have already installed the YouTube app. You'll go to Photos or to the camera roll on iPhone. You'll choose the video that you want to upload to YouTube, and you'll hit share. In the sharing options, you'll see all the apps you can share them with. So we'll choose YouTube. And here we can see accounts. If you haven't logged into your Google account, you can hit the plus icon here. And here it will allow you to sign in with a new account. Or if you don't have a Google account yet, you can hit create account and make a new account here. In my case, I already have an account. So I'll use my personal account. And as you can see, the YouTube app also gives you the option of trim the beginning and the end of the video. So you don't even need to use the application on your computer. You can do it directly from here. Here you can give a title and a description to your video. Comprehensible Online, for example. And the description and some talk. And here is one of the most important things. Here's the privacy settings. So privacy settings, there's 3 options. The first one is public. Public means that anybody can find the video, people can search from it and they will find it by name, and it may come up in their suggested videos, for example, if they're watching some other related videos. The second option is unlisted. Unlisted means that people will not be able to find it if they search for it, and it will not be suggested to them. But if they have a link to the video, anybody can watch it. So you can use this, for example, to share it with all your students, but just have into account that if they resend that link to anybody else, then that other person can also see it. The last option is private, which means that only you can view it, but you can actually still share it with other people if you choose through the YouTube app, you choose the emails of those people who can see the video. Then it will send emails to those people and those people will have access to the video. We'll set it to private and we'll press the top right arrow to upload it. And now it's uploading. We can see here that there's a progress bar. There will be a progress bar when there's progress. We make sure that we are on Wi-Fi. Videos can get pretty big. It's very easy for a video to be more than 1 GB in size. So it's better to make sure that you're on Wi-Fi so you don't use all your data for the month. And here we can see it's making progress. It will take about 20 minutes. On iPhone, you can go to the camera roll app. You'll tap on the video that we recorded, and then you can press the share button here. And then you'll see all the different apps that you can share it with. And there you can tap on YouTube, and all the other steps, they should be pretty similar to what we just did. One last thing that I'm going to show you how to do is add subtitles to the video. This is something that people very often ask me how to do, so I'm going to show you how to do it. And to do this, we're going to need to use a computer because the mobile app doesn't really support adding subtitles yet. So we're here, we're right at the video that we just uploaded. And we're going to use a very nice feature of YouTube that is auto-generated subtitles. So here, if I turn on the closed captions, we'll see that it says English auto-generated. So that means that YouTube just tried to guess what I was saying. It doesn't work 100% of the time, so we're gonna help it. So we'll go here to the 3 dots and we'll choose Add Translations. This is not really a translation, but both subtitles and closed captions use the same interface. And here we see English automatic. This appears because I gave YouTube enough time to process the video and to come up with automatic subtitles. But if this is not coming up, you may have to wait for a while, or if you waited for a while and it didn't appear, then you'll have to go here, choose Add New Subtitles or Closed Captions for English, and here create new subtitles or closed captions. This means that you will have to write the subtitles from zero. So this is not ideal, it's quite a bit of work. So we'll go back and we'll choose the automatically generated closed captions. We'll click on this, we'll unpublish it, because we're going to change it. We're gonna take what YouTube guessed that we were saying and we are gonna fix it. So we unpublished it so we can work on it, and we don't need to publish it while we're working on it. We can wait until we're done improving the subtitles, and then we can publish it. So here what you do, you see that in these boxes, it shows us what it guessed that we said. So if we play it, we can hear it. So this is what the video you will record will actually look like. So here it didn't really get it right, so we'll go and fix it. So this is what the video you will record will actually look like. So this is what the record will actually look like. And if you see that one of the closed captions is too long, you press return here and it will split it in two. You see here that it created a new box. If there's a box that's not really in sync, that you want to make it shorter, you can move it this side, you can move it the left side, you can move also the left side if you see that you want it to start earlier or later, just to make it in sync. If there's a closed caption that you don't need anymore, you click on it and you delete it. And if you want to add one, you just go here and press the plus sign, and here you will create a new closed caption, and here you can write the appropriate subtitle for this part. And when you're done, you just press save changes, and it's done. We can go to the video. So this is what and here you can see that now we have subtitles, closed captions, English. And we've published subtitles for the video. You can turn them off and on. And that's it. And that was step 11, shared with the world. So I hope your video turned out all right. Once you start recording a few videos, if you kind of like it and would like to continue and would like to improve, I want to give you a few tips on how you can continue improving the quality of your videos. The first thing that you may want to do is to start editing the videos on your computer. The way I showed you how to edit the videos with your phone, it works, but it's not that convenient depending what you want to do. With a computer, it's much easier to do things like cut parts of the video, adjust the volume of the sound, add clips or images that you downloaded from the internet and things like that. You can also add titles, or you can even add vocabulary items on overlay over the image. So to edit on the computer, you can use software like Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, iMovie, or Shotcut. It also allows you to do things like recording the video and the audio separately. For example, you can use your phone to record the audio, but use a camera to record the video. And that means that you don't need to have a wire going from your recording device to yourself. So you're much more free, where you can stand and you can move around. You can act out scenes, for example, without a cable bothering you. And if you do that, you end up with two separate files, an audio file and a video file. And you need a computer if you want to put the two files together. Even if you edit on your computer, you can still use your phone for recording. But if you, for example, try recording many videos in a row, it can be a lot of work to do on the phone, and on the computer it's just much faster and much easier to do. Another tip is that if you ever start recording a big amount of videos, you'll find out that it's usually easier to work in batches. So because every time you sit down to record a video, there's a certain setup involved. You need to set your phone, you need to set the microphone, you need to set up the lighting, and everything takes time. So it's usually easier to write down a few videos that you're going to record, write a few scripts, and then once you sit down, you can record several videos in a row in just one sitting. I still recommend you take separate files, so press the button to record and then stop for every video you record, but you don't need to put your stuff back and set it up again for every video that you're going to record. Then when you go on and edit the videos, also you'll sit down and edit a few videos in a row, and you'll probably end up being much more efficient this way. And if you start recording this way, you'll notice that it's also helpful to use a separate video or photography camera. One of the reasons using a camera helps is that with a camera you can usually have much better control over how much memory you have left and how much battery you have left. If you want to record many videos in a row, for example, you can just swap memory cards and you can swap batteries once you run out of battery. That way you'll make sure you never run out of battery and you never run out of space, which with a phone it may be a bit trickier to do unless you have a phone with memory cards, which lately they're not very common. Another advantage of using a camera is that, as you can see, often cameras have a flippable screen, so that can help you frame without needing a friend or without needing to record a sample video to see how well you're framed. And most cameras nowadays also have Wi-Fi. That means that you can use an app on your phone also to achieve the same thing, to check the framing and make sure that you're framed correctly. You can even use the app to start and stop the recording, so you don't even need to go and walk to your camera. If you draw in your videos, once you start doing it more often, you'll sometimes struggle a bit to draw some things. Some things are a bit harder to draw than others. For example, in my case, I remember that I had a hard time drawing a frog and drawing a rose, for example. Roses can be a bit hard to draw. So to help you with that, I recommend this book. It's called Ayel. As the title says, it says Picture Dictionary. So it's basically pictures. The original intention is that you'll take this book on your trips when you travel abroad, and you'll open this book and point at the pictures to help you communicate with the locals when you don't know the language of the place. But because of how simple the drawings are and how they try to stay culture independent, they are actually very good examples for how you can draw the pictures yourself. And one last tip is, of course, to watch many videos. You can watch Ayel's videos, where you can see how she uses a handheld whiteboard. You can, of course, watch my videos at Dreaming Spanish. And another channel that I recommend watching is the Language Institute of Natural Khmer. There you can see a few videos of a language that you probably know nothing about, which is Khmer, which is spoken in Cambodia. And the idea is that if you watch your videos, you'll really see what it's like for a complete beginner in a completely different language. You'll get to be the student, and you'll get a much better idea about what works, what doesn't work, what's comprehensible, what's not, and the things that help convey meaning. Because from the point of view of the teacher, it's often a bit hard to imagine yourself as a student, a bit hard to imagine why your students don't understand certain words, or why, even though something seems really clear to you, they're not understanding what you're saying. By watching these videos, you'll see that if you're targeting beginners, You may have to draw more, you may have to use more gestures, you may have to refer back to your drawings more often. So that was the 12th step, the last one, which is get better. So that's everything that it actually takes to make your own videos. I try to keep it as simple and accessible as possible. And I also try to make it into a to-do list kind of format, so you could see the whole picture. You could see that there's a limited amount of steps. It's not unsurmountable. Anybody can actually go and do it. So I'm hoping to motivate more teachers to do things like this. Ideally, I would like to get to the point where we just have so much content online available for most languages that people may want to learn, that you can go and look for comprehensible input videos at your level and about the actual topics that you're interested in. So that if I'm interested in motorbikes, I can go online and look at a really easy to understand comprehensible video in Chinese about motorbikes. Because the only way that I think we're going to be able to get learners to get enough comprehensible input is by making that input interesting. And we're going to need a lot of different content if we want everybody to be able to find something they find interesting. And we need enough interesting content for every level. So the same as with free voluntary reading, we need a big library for free voluntary listening so we can help learners listen a lot to the language, acquire the language, and become fluent speakers. If we consider that it takes hundreds, possibly more than 1,000 hours of input to get fluent in a language, we are going to need a lot of content out there, especially if we consider that not every student is going to be interested in the same topics. And we need to provide the learners with the kind of content that they're interested in, because it's the only way that we can make sure that they stick with it, that they continue with it, and that they don't give up, and that they spend all the hours that are needed of input to actually improve and get better at the language. So we are going to need as much help as we can if we have to produce thousands of hours of content. So I'm asking you, please help us. Make videos in your native language for the rest of the world to see. Tell us about what your daily life in your town is like, what life is like in your country. Tell us something that happened to you. Tell us what things you enjoy, what things worry you, what things make you happy in life. We would especially like to hear about funny and embarrassing things that you did or that happened to you. Were you caught stealing when you were little? Were you mischievous in school? Tell us. As a final note, I would like to give a gentle push to those of you who have been thinking of making videos or making some other kind of content and sharing it with the world, but never seem to get to do it. I get it, it's happened to me when you, for the first time, try to make something that's going to be public, are going to publish something for the world to see. It can be scary. You don't know what people are going to say, you don't know if they're going to like it or not. It's something that makes you feel very exposed and vulnerable, and it's normal to be scared of that. But at the same time, it's the most important thing for you to do. If you've been thinking of recording videos, but you're thinking that you're not prepared because there are things that you need to do before, you need better hardware, or you need a better idea for your video, or you need a better place to record. No, you don't need all those things. You need to publish your first video. That's the most important thing, because it's going to be the thing that's gonna help you get rid of that fear. And once you've published your first video, you'll be much more objective about the things that you really need to do to improve your videos, for example, if you just get rid of that fear that makes you procrastinate. And I know this because it happened to me. I spent weeks looking for the ideal place to record my video, my first video, which actually ended up being a really bad place. And I also spent several weeks coming up with a list of all the possible topics of humanity, so that in the future it would be easier for me to choose topics for my videos. I ended up spending weeks on making this list, and I haven't used even once. If you've been intending on doing it for a while, then just do it. Just make your first video and publish it. I hope that you enjoyed my talk and that it motivated you to start making videos for learners and for other teachers. Bye.